East Bank going westbound. Got a crash right there at Shelby Avenue. 24 downtown eastbound near the I-40 East split. Police reporting a crash there. And then still got an earlier accident reported by TDOT, 40 eastbound after Charlotte Avenue, west of downtown. Goodlettsville got a stalled vehicle on the left shoulder, 65 southbound at Rivergate Parkway. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, you get out of pocket for about an hour, you go away from the news cycle, and look what happens. The S&P is up 474 points. That's 9.5%. NASDAQ is up, well, the Dow's over 40,000. That is an increase of almost 30. That's almost 3,000 points. That's 7.87%.
NASDAQ's up 12%.
And NASDAQ's up 12%. And that's like, Chris Webber and I left for an hour to go do a podcast, and we come back, and that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And Ken Weaver's been watching it the whole time. There's Ken Weaver back in the newsroom. Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, boys.
There's exactly one person applauding for you. That's so.
Yeah. I feel like Jeb Bush.
Please clap. Ken, what's going on, brother?
Man, I've just been watching this all day long. Starting at about, I want to say, right before 12:30. I'd already written my cast up and everything. I'd even moved the tariff news to the second story.
Oh, wow.
And then all of a sudden it pops up, Trump is going to pause 90 days for everybody except China.
Let me show all these panicans up. All of you panicans out there, I told you to be cool. Watch this. 90-day moratorium. Boop. Watch, talk about it. Woo. I mean, I think he's kind of, I don't know.
Man.
Part of me is wondering whether or not this is amusing. And I know that this is serious stuff, especially for those that are retired or those that are living off their retirement income or those set to retire. I think there are certain categories of people that this is not funny. But it's kind of funny for me. And I'm sorry for that if it offends you.
What he seems to have done, and we'll see if it's successful, it seems like it is right now anyway, he has completely isolated China.
Well, and isn't that, I mean, is it not brilliant to suggest that that was the goal all along?
Yeah.
I mean, China's the country that's doing the bad stuff. China's the country that's stealing the intellectual property. China's the country that uses slave-like labor. China's the country that has this unfair trade imbalance with a lot of different nations. China's the country where we're trying to get right on the tariff front. And now the Trump administration is saying, okay, you've got to decide. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out whether you're on the side of freedom and liberty and you believe that we have the right way to go, or you're on the side of China. We are going to take on China from an economic standpoint right here and right now. And I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, and not only did he give a 90-day pause to everyone else who did not retaliate, but he slapped another 125% on China.
Oh, yeah, are we up to 220-something% now?
Yes.
I mean, I loved it. I saw, what's his name? He's on the Shark Tank. I always forget his name.
O'Leary.
O'Leary.
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary was on the CNN last night. Hashtag never CNN. Don't watch CNN. It's a garbage network full of garbage people. I watch so you don't have to. So he was on the CNN, and he said, let's go 400%. Let's go. That China is not a good actor in all of this, and anybody pretending that they are, you're fooling yourself. I have no idea why Donald Trump's signing executive orders in the White House right now in front of the Gulf of America sign, but he is. Is that a permanent fixture in the White House now, the Gulf of America sign?
I love how big the writing is, too.
I mean, no, it's huge.
Takes up the entire Gulf of America.
Come on, you're taking up the whole page.
He just got finished hosting all the champions from NASCAR, Indy, and IMSA. Holding a news conference, and now he's doing this.
It is only day 79, y'all. We're only 79 days. It's a 1,460-day 4-year term in Donald Trump's second term as president of the United States of America, and we are less than 3 months in, and all of this just keeps getting better. This might be a little bit dangerous, but let's, while he's he's doing executive orders, but he's also, what he does, he sits there and he's signing these executive orders, and then he allows for questions while he's signing the executive orders. More access in a week's time frame than Joe Biden ever gave the American people through the assembled journalists in that room. More access than you ever saw Joe Biden give, because Joe Biden wasn't able to do so because of his obvious mental infirmity. But there's Donald Trump. Just jip a little bit of this if there's anything to join in progress.
Yes, sir. This is the last of our deregulatory EOs for the day. This is zero-based regulatory budgeting. The idea here is that over time, regulations accumulate.
All right, so we're signing some executive orders there. If he begins back taking questions, we will perhaps. Oh, yeah, I don't have any doubt. He loves taking questions from the folks. And the assembled media. Dare I say that they've begun actually doing their jobs as opposed to it feels like many in the media have realized that this guy's the president of the United States, duly elected by the American people, and he's doing very serious things. This is not a guy to be trifled with. You don't have any Russian collusion to hang your hat on for the foreseeable future. So you might as well actually do your job and ask questions about what his policy positions are, where they're going, why they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it. And it changes so quickly that I have to reset what I'm talking about today. I mean, my opening conversation, it seems so dated now, was going to be regarding China and their tariffs. They ratcheted up their tariffs to 84% as Trump's tariffs took place. Trump's tariffs were at 104% at that point when China went to 84%. And now Trump has gone up to, is it 225% or something like that? I mean, it's
somewhere around 200.
So we're zeroing out the rest. So if I understand this correctly, Ken, everybody else is paused.
Yeah, everybody else. Now, what he's done is he's flattened the tariff on everyone else. It's 10%, but it's paused for 90 days because he says now more than 7,500 countries are coming to Washington to negotiate.
Okay. 75?
More than 75.
Holy moly. So that's great stuff. Right now, Stephen Miller is speaking as the president signs executive orders in the White House. So we'll continue to follow that story for you and take your telephone calls on it. Donald Trump, once again, working the system, attempting to negotiate better deals for the United States of America, and truly isolating China as the outlier in the world and on the world stage when it comes to the economy. I have the Kevin O'Leary quote or the clip, and I'll play it for you once I get it pulled up, as O'Leary was talking last night on #NeverCNN. I know you didn't watch it because nobody does, but he did say that, China's not the good player in here, and anyone that has done business with China understands that. O'Leary, just to synopsize, said, if you're trying to do business in China and you feel like you have to do business in China because of the cheap labor source that it is, they're happy to give you that cheap labor, but you get it at a cost, and that cost is your intellectual property. China will steal, if they believe it is of value to them, they will steal the intellectual property that you bring them. They have to look at it. They want to see it. They want to examine it. They want to dissect it. They want to tear it apart and put it back together. And once they do, you're welcome to build your product in China. You're welcome to have a place at the table. You'll get charged more than they will in terms of what they're doing, because they're going to create a knockoff that they just stole from you from an intellectual property standpoint, and they're going to sell their knockoff for less than you sell your product, and that is the cost of doing business. Is it unfair? You're damn right it's unfair, and it needs to be changed. The current scenario regarding the economic battles that we've been in with China, I don't pretend that we're losing. I don't think the United States is losing necessarily, but there needs to be a reset in terms of our thought process behind this. And Donald Trump understands it better than any president in our lifetime. Any president in our lifetime. And we're getting it done. Kathy says, I believe it's 125% on China. I thought that was on top of the 100%, Kathy, but I've been out of pocket. We just completed, by the way, speaking of out of pocket, let me get through the pleasantries real quick, and we'll get the show underway. Lumbering under our own weight, as they say. I would note that Glenn Jacobs, mayor of Knox County, is going to be on with us at 3:35 this afternoon, talking about his challenge to Tim Walz and whether or not that will come to fruition. That's still hanging out there. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to charity still hanging out there because Walz shot his mouth off talking about he thought he could beat most Republicans, and Glenn Jacobs was like, okay, well, I mean, you want to go? Let's go. Let's do a little charity wrestling match. We'll get an update on that, and we'll get Jacobs' thoughts on tariffs and other matters. Obviously, always a good conversation with Mayor Glenn Jacobs out of Knox County. That's at 3:35. Cameron Smith will be in the 5 o'clock hour, and the Duggar Boys are coming back at 6 o'clock. We were supposed to have them on last week, and because of weather considerations, we had to shift we had to not do it then, and we shifted it till today. So the Duggar Boys will be with us today at about 6:05. Excited about that. If you've not heard of the Duggar Boys and their experience with a local television station and what that meant for their incredible new single, we're going to share the entire story with you and find out a lot about these fellas coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. It is day 760. No, correct that. Strike that. Reverse it. 786. It's our 786th episode of the Matt Murphy Show today. It's day 79 of the Trump administration's second term. It is Wednesday, April 9. Like and subscribe us. If you walk over to the TV side of things, you can see what I consider to be my fetching seersucker jacket.
Looks like some of the dogs should be fetching, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I take that, Mr. Weber, as a compliment. There's Chris Weber. He's behind the glass, screening your telephone calls, the soon-to-be erstwhile producer of the Matt Murphy Radio Show, doing his dead-level best to make sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. I think this looks good. This is my spring look, right?
That's pretty good looking jacket there.
Don't you like
Murphy.
that? It's my spring look, Weaver.
Yeah, it looks very springish.
I mean, I'm testing out what my Easter outfit's going to be. You know, Easter's coming up.
You have you have the matching pants?
You know, it's funny you say that.
Because if you don't, I mean, what are you doing? Really?
I bought this jacket while looking for a seersucker suit in Nashville, Tennessee. 2 or 3, I guess it was 3 springs ago. It was my first spring in Nashville. I was invited to the steeplechase over there at Percy Priest or wherever it is. And, we had an annual event over there. We're not doing it this year for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. So don't ask me, but we're not doing it. One way or the other, we were doing it that year, and I said, well, what should I wear to the steeplechase? And they said, well, it's like Nashville's version of the Kentucky Derby. You got to dress up. Women wear their dresses and their big fancy hats.
Yeah, big old hats.
Mm-hmm. And so I went out across the city of Nashville looking for a seersucker suit and could not find a seersucker suit.
That's hard to believe.
That's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I was too late in the season. That's what I kept hearing. I don't know, but I found...
You got to get it in, February, March, probably.
I suppose.
Okay.
But I did find a nice seersucker jacket. I think it was from, I think this one came from Belk. Love a good Belk. I think that's right.
It's got a pocket?
Oh, yeah. Got a little pocket there. Saddlebred. That's Belk, right? A little pocket. We got a pocket over here. Well, what's that thing for, you think?
That's a watch pocket.
No, watch pocket. That's a pen pocket.
Pen pocket. There you go.
I'll get you a fancy pen there, Brother Murphy.
Oh, yeah. One of them nice little, one of them fancy that, a little turn, little quill, a little, you know what? When I was in college, I wanted to use those fancy ink what do they call those? With the fancy little tip on them.
Yeah.
And it just drips to the tip.
Yes.
Yeah, busted all over me, Ken. Ink everywhere.
Kind of serves you right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think was going to happen, sir?
They make good weapons.
Why didn't I just go back to the old quill?
Yeah. Just carry around a little ink bottle with you.
An ink bottle and a quill, and you got you get your pocket knife out. Got to sharpen your quill. Sharpen that thing. All right, this type of frivolity for the full afternoon. Sears says, you know why it's called seersucker? Steve wants to know I know why it's called seersucker.
Why is it?
I don't know. And I don't think I want to ask him.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to tell you.
I bet he will. And 8411 reminds me, it is a calligraphy pen, the one that I was thinking.
Calligraphy.
That
it
is
was on the
correct.
tip of my tongue.
Hey, I see what you did there. It is 20 minutes after the hour. Donald Trump signing executive orders in the White House. The stock market is up big time, bigly, hugely, almost 8%. Look what we did there. NASDAQ up 12%. S&P up well as well. And it's closing out. What do we close? 10 minutes from now, Ken?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
10 minutes
All
from
right.
now.
So only 10 minutes to go, but let's see if we can push that thing above 3,000. It is the Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Men of Valor creates such wonderful dynamics within the prison system. And I know that's an odd thing to say, but it is true because they truly bring the power of God to the prisons, and they bring them to the men who are in crisis inside of those prison walls. In 2024, they ministered to well over 3,000 men. Their army of staff and volunteers minister directly to the incarcerated by way of Bible study, discipleship groups, leadership groups, and so much more. And they lower recidivism as a result. Men of Valor helps lower that recidivism rate. In some places nationally, it's up to 70%. Their graduates of the Men of Valor program, less than 15% recidivism rate. That's an incredible rate of return for you. They truly maintain those close relationships with the graduates of their programs for years and years to come. Anyone attending the breakfast last month recognizes that. And I encourage you to find out more about Men of Valor by going to movministry.com. That's movministry.com. Look into them, and I think you'll find what I found. It's a wonderful organization that will do your heart proud and will save us money as Tennesseans in the long run. It's Men of Valor.
President Trump pauses tariffs on everyone but China and hits China even harder. This story and more at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 3:25, almost 3:26. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dow Jones. I guess the markets are closed for the day.
They're getting ready to be.
I got some people saying, well, I don't know. I got some people telling me they're closed over on the
4:30 is the Eastern time.
I thought it was normally
time.
the day, but I'm not seeing any movement from these numbers. That's why I assumed that I would assume that there would be some movement still. If one way or the other, they're up. They're up big time. Bigly, as Donald Trump might say to you. Donald Trump still speaking before the assembled reporters in the Oval Office in the White House. Let's just join that in progress, see what's going on there. Let's see what he's talking about.
We've gotten some good feedback from Pete Hegseth and Department of Defense. And they're talking about F-16s, they're talking about F-35s, et cetera. It's a great piece of property, it's a great location, and it's a great state. So I think we're going to come back with a very good answer. We're also working on a certain fish that's taken over a beautiful lake called Michigan, right? And that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's very. Do you want to just talk about that?
Sure, Mr. President. Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for caring so much about Michigan. We've been working.
Y'all think he's talking about dire wolves
too? We couldn't
too?
get
I
Joe
hope so.
Biden to do anything about either one of these issues.
See if he says anything about dire wolves.
Particularly Selfridge Air Force Base. It'll be critical to Michigan's economy and our security when you're able to deliver us another mission there. But on the Asian carp, for years when Obama was there, we could never get anyone to do anything about this invasive species that's going to destroy our Great Lakes. You know how important recreational fishing and so much of that is to our state. Because of your work, we're hopeful that we'll get a solution there and we'll get that barrier built so we can protect our Great Lakes. So thank you, Mr. President.
And they're very powerful fish. I mean, I see them, they jump out of the water.
So powerful.
The fishermen, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Has this gotten into any of the other lakes yet? Because you would think it would be pretty easy because they're all sort of connected.
Because they jumpy.
It's why we're
Jump into the boat, go to the other lake.
Make sure that
Sorry.
we work with the
My
Army
apologies.
Corps and erect a barrier so that the Asian carp can't get into Lake Michigan. It'll devastate the ecosystem, the economy, tourism, and it's 20% of the world's fresh water is in the Great Lakes, Mr. President, which is why it's so important that as a nation we protect the pristine
stop it
waters.
now.
Yep.
And, all of a sudden, I assume the lakes are all interconnected, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, they're going to be in the other lakes.
Are they?
So
I
we're
don't
going to
know.
work hard on that. I spoke with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they have a method.
Are they?
It's
I think so,
a pretty
yeah.
gruesome
Okay.
method, but it's a method, and I think they know what to do. So we're going to work on that very hard.
Big lakes.
Thank you, Governor,
Yeah.
very much.
Huge.
Sort of a bipartisan thing when you get right down to it.
Yep.
It's a very expensive thing, actually. Costs a lot. I looked at the numbers.
What do you
I
think
said,
Donald
wow.
Trump's favorite lake is?
But
Superior?
we have to save
Obviously.
Michigan
I mean,
because
I would
these
think.
Lake
fish,
of America.
They eat everything in the way, including the other fish. They eat everything. Are people endangered?
I thought Lake
by
Michigan
that?
was renamed Lake Auburn after the basketball
they're gonna
tournament.
eat all
Didn't they
the
win,
fish there. We won't
beat
be
Michigan and
fishing
Michigan
anymore.
State?
And that's a big deal in Lake Michigan. There's a lot of fishing, recreation.
All right, so we're talking Lake Michigan up there, and have you've been to Chicago? You've seen the
Oh, yeah.
You've seen
Yeah.
Lake Michigan.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Looks like they're so large they have tides, right?
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah, they do.
They have, we enjoyed when we went up years ago. We enjoyed watching northern people swim.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let them go above their waist. They had lifeguards in Lake Michigan in rowboats. I'm not making this up. And, we've been down at the Gulf where, there's just waves crashing. People are just going out there. They're doing their thing. These folks, they get up to their waist, and the lifeguards would, if they got above their waist, would whistle them, tell them to get back on, get on back in there.
Are there currents?
Apparently there are. I wouldn't think that there would be undertow in the lake.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. But
I just think
don't
that the Yankees don't know how to swim, Ken. That's
Might be those big old Asian carp.
well, maybe.
yeah.
Invasives, they're huge. They're powerful creatures. These carp, they're incredible. They jump and
They jump.
They jump out of the water and they grab things. And incredible Asian carp. We're going to rename them American carp. That's what we're going to rename them. And then they won't be invasive. Anyway, Donald Trump's taking questions right now. We will continue. And My impersonation is not good, but it is done in love. I love our president of the United States. It is 31 after the hour on Super Talk.
.330 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're looking at a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather tomorrow. Tell you more about that during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And I stand corrected. The stock market closes at 4 o'clock Eastern time every day. So, Brother Murphy, you were right. The stocks had stopped. Trading had stopped. And here's how they ended the day. The Dow ended up just shy of 8%, 2,962 points. S&P ends up just shy of 10%, up 474 points. NASDAQ ends up 12% at ends up 1,857 points higher. That's for a 12% gain. And all of that is because President Trump paused tariffs on everyone today but China. He also raised tariffs on China by another 125% for retaliating to prior tariffs.
No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history. And others also. But somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable.
Trump says more than 75 other countries have called to make a deal, and that is the purpose for the 3-month pause on 10% tariffs across the board on everyone else but China. Here in Tennessee, a bill that would allow permit holders carry shotguns and rifles in public is essentially dead for the year. 3 Republicans joined Democrats, voted it down in the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday, probably for some of the same reasons top law enforcement officials and others cited during a hearing in the House last month.
It's been a problem in these other states. People carrying around, large rifle, high-capacity style weapons in front of schools, in front of churches, in front of synagogues.
Now, News Channel 5 says the House version of this legislation is still alive, but the defeat in the Senate has likely doomed it for the year. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, TDOT says they're still working a crash 40 eastbound after Charlotte Avenue. Police reporting a crash at 24 downtown eastbound near I-40. And then in Madison, police reporting a crash 65 northbound at Old Hickory Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Efficient Heating and Cooling is your one-stop shop for all things AC and heating in your home and or your place of business for that matter. But here's the deal. I mean, now's the type of year or time of year, I should say, where you're turning the heater on and then you're turning the AC on and you never know what kind of weather you're going to get from day to day. This puts a strain on the system. And if yours is not operating as you believe it should, I encourage you to go to Efficient Heating and Cooling. Jeff Eddy and Efficient can certainly help you out. The best way to head off costly repairs is to get maintenance done on your system. You need to do that with Efficient. And if it's time to replace, they'll tell you. They'll tell you the honest truth about the matter. They'll educate you on this front and let you know what's going on with your AC or your heater for that matter. And obviously we're thinking AC a little bit more nowadays because the expectation is it's going to continue to warm up through April and into May and on into the summer months. Efficient Heating and Cooling can help you when it comes time to replace by selecting the right unit for you. They're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and they'll find the one that's right for you and your family. It's efficient heating and cooling. Call Jeff Eddy today. If your AC's not ready, call Jeff Eddy at 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 38 after the hour. Wow, what a day. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 7.87%. NASDAQ 12%. S&P up, I didn't catch the percentage there, but it's up a lot too, as Donald Trump announced a 90-day moratorium on tariffs for the rest of the world not named China. And many are now suggesting, people like Bill Ackman that were concerned about what tariffs would mean regarding the rest of the world, says was a brilliant on social media, on the X machine. You can follow us on X, by the way, at Matt Murphy Show. That's at Matt Murphy Show. Follow. You can find us on a variety of different platforms. I'm mostly on the X machine. Brilliantly executed by Donald Trump. Textbook art of the deal. And this is what Scott Bessent had to say about the markets, the market reaction, and what Donald Trump has executed today.
And all this was, again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
And things turned out well for most of the rest of the world. It's not turning out so well for China. To speak on this and many other matters, it's always a good conversation with Mayor Glenn Jacobs. He joins us on the show. We wanted to have Mayor on to talk about the charity wrestling match that he had proposed with Governor Tim Walz. We'll do that in just a moment. But Mayor Jacobs, what's going on, Glenn? How are you?
Hey, Matt, doing great. How are you?
Man, I love winning. You know, it's better than losing. And today feels like a little bit of winning going on today in Washington, D.C. in the White House. What do you think?
Woo! You ain't kidding, man. You know, this is only Donald Trump could have pulled this off. I mean, this is simply amazing. And you know, along the way, obviously, everyone had a lot of nerves. Then you come out and they're like, "Hey, it's kind of what we planned all along." I'd like to read a tweet that I'd put out like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
If that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's titled "My Thoughts on Tariffs." It's bullet points. Like, keep in mind that Donald Trump is much more shrewd than his critics and sometimes even his supporters give him credit for. Bullet point 2, tariffs are nothing new. For instance, I cite a World Bank list of all the Canadian tariffs on the U.S. In fact, I'd argue that we've been in a cold trade war with China for years. 3, as an economic policy, tariffs are a terrible idea, and the reason I talk about that is they're a tax like other taxes. They do cause some issues. I would say, though, that tariffs are much less offensive than, say, the income tax. So, yes, if we can raise money through tariffs and at least lower the income tax, would be great. But here's the important one. Number 4, on the other hand, Donald Trump has been masterful at using the threat of tariffs as leverage. For Trump, it goes beyond economic policy. He's a deal maker. If he can bring other countries to the table to negotiate trade deals, such as you drop your tariffs, we drop ours, we could see a series of actual free trade deals, not the bogus NAFTA, 1,700 pages of regulation, central planning, and ultimately loss of national sovereignty, free trade, but simply dropping impediments to trade such as exorbitant tariffs, resulting in a more open global market. Number 5, it's all in the execution at this point. It's going to be a wild ride, and I would say the execution was perfect. And number 6, no matter what, it's time to unleash American free market capitalism, cut taxes, slash red tape, and adopt sound money policies, just like the German Wirtschaft for wonder. It will look like a miracle to future generations. And dadgummit if that's not what he did.
Well,
it's
and
amazing.
I mean, no, and you wrote that 3 days ago?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I was just like, and then Art Laffer and there's a friend of mine who lives, actually Dr. Laffer lives in Nashville. He's father of Reaganomics, and Stephen Moore, who is an economic advisor to President Trump in his first term, they literally were saying what Trump did today. It's like, hey, just lower, hey, we're going to go over everyone's tariffs to 10%, bam, boom, bang, and guess what, China? And the amazing thing is, Matt, he had no leverage here. China actually had all the leverage. They own like $1 trillion in treasuries. They have gone around the world while we've been talking about how many genders there are. They've been buying uranium mines. Mm-hmm. While we've been discussing men and women's sports, they've been increasing their refining capacity and spreading their influence throughout the world. So he literally had no leverage here. This is a huge bluff. And man, I mean, and there's a meme going around right now, and it's hilarious, but it's absolutely true. It's Xi Jinping sitting there reading the art of the deal.
I'm looking at it right now as you speak.
Exactly right.
It's exactly right. It's like, okay, where did I get beat here? How did I not figure this out? Well, and in the broad sense, you do this. You suffer the slings and arrows of an aggressive anti-Trump media here in the United States of America. You recognize that there's going to be some temporary anxiety over the stock markets. You tell people to stay cool. I mean, he said it. He said it. Don't be a panicking. Be cool, and all will work out, knowing that this was coming on the back end, understanding that the purpose was to – you know what? In the broad scheme, tell me if I'm wrong, Glenn, we figure out who our allies are, who wants to come to the table, who wants to work down to zero or as close as we can get to it, and who's not. Who's and we knew who the big red player was in all of this. We knew who we didn't know. I didn't suppose to know. You did. Who he was trying to draw out all along, and it worked. And now you have a stock market that is, at this moment, the same as it was in September, and it's up 4% for the year. So all of these people that are screaming bloody murder about a recession need to, maybe they need to take off a week or two on social media and stop listening to these keyboard warriors that think they know so much.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Now the next step, seriously, we have free market capitalism is like Secretariat, right? And even with the Chinese state capitalism that they have, they're still a communist country. They're basically an overweight Shetland pony. But we have just weighed Secretariat down with so much red tape, so many taxes, the regulation, the government spending. that needs to get slashed, and once that happens and we're free to run, it will be unbelievable. For instance, we rank in the bottom third of nations for the time that it takes to get a nuclear power plant online. And it's all because of permitting and regulation, And meanwhile, again, the Chinese are over there just building these things like crazy. I hope that that's President Trump's next step, is to just free up our economy, and once again unleash the powerhouse that is free market capitalism.
Well, I absolutely love it. I love the outcome of this. I don't know. I mean, I often say, Glenn, and I don't try to oversimplify it, but, I don't know how much Donald Trump is Bobby Fischer, if you know the old chess master, right? He could play 15 people and beat them all. And how much of this is Forrest? The old movie Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump had no idea how he came out good on all of these situations, but he did. And Donald Trump, regardless of how he does it, he always comes out on the right side of these things.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. I think he's just good, right? And they always say I'd rather be lucky than good. Well, eventually your luck runs out,
right.
And it's amazing because every time that we think that Trump's luck has run out, it turns around and bam, this literally is a reshuffling of the global economic order in a very good way. We do have to realize that China is very smart. Their central planners are a lot smarter than our central planners. And they have basically been stowing away U.S. treasuries so that they could implement a currency war, as well as spreading their influence throughout the world. And Trump realized that, and at some point you have to do something to push back. And what he did, again, it was brilliant. And I don't think anyone else in the world could have done this because we're all kind of staring into the abyss, and Trump's like, it'll be fine.
Well,
and sure enough, it is. It's amazing.
And when you have 75 plus nations that are lining up and saying, "Hey, we'll sit down, we'll talk with you," recognizing the ability to recognize that. That China itself, and the leadership within China as our number one geopolitical foe, Xi positioned himself as the guy that's willing to stand up to the United States of America, and Donald Trump pushed him into that position, and he took the bait.
Yeah.
Completely took the bait, and now he's backed into a corner and he can't back down because tariffs of this nature are going to significantly hurt China far more than they hurt the United States of America, especially when every other nation, we're back on a level reciprocal footing.
Right, and that's the key. Basically, you have isolated them. You've isolated them economically, and look, who would I rather be the major influence in the world, the Communist Chinese Party or America? I'm voting for America every time. And because of what Donald Trump did today, I think that we will once again, be able to stare down China and say, hey, we're the most influential country in the world, and that's what we want.
And tell me if I'm wrong here, Glenn. The one thing that China might have that makes negotiations a little bit weird. Does everyone start to understand why he's been focused on Greenland? Like he's been focused on Greenland? Or like he wanted to get a rare earth minerals deal done in Ukraine? Because he recognizes that we have to lessen American dependence on some of these minerals that are necessary to move the economy forward from a technological standpoint. And he was doing that 2 months ago.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, we've been dilly-dallying around with, these things that are just silly. I mentioned how many genders there are and, men and women's sports and all this stuff. And you're exactly right. Meanwhile, China has been cornering the market on rare earth minerals. They've been increasing their refining capacity. So they were putting themselves in a position to become dominant power and to literally put a stranglehold on the rest of the world. And that, seriously, I think that ended today. I'm almost speechless. This thing was just remarkable what he was able to achieve.
It is certainly a boom. I mean, it is a big boom. So before we let you go, Mayor Glenn Jacobs, of course, our guest. Everybody knows Glenn. Everybody knows the great job he does over in Knox County. You also do a great job of calling liberals out when they run their mouths off. And I'm sad. I'm a little sad about this, though, because I thought you took Tim Walz shooting his mouth off and created a great idea that could benefit everybody, that could raise a lot of money for a lot of charity. Sadly, you have been met with crickets, I believe. Tell us where we are on the charity wrestling match that you proposed, and Tim Walz, and giving a lot of different monies to charity. Where are we on it?
We're no further along than last time I talked to you. For some reason, he won't return my phone calls.
Oh, weird.
And I don't understand it. I think he might be a little scared.
Well, weird. I mean, that's just...
It's the choke slam, man. He doesn't want the choke slam.
It's Kid Weaver, the newser. He said he doesn't want the choke slam, buddy.
There you go.
Oh, listen, you'd play nice with Timmy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, we would have fun, and at the end of it, we'd hopefully shake hands and come away friends, even though I think he's still weird, but we'd be all right. So.
Yeah, just tell him right before you slam him on the mat that, hey, remember, Tim, this is all fake. This is all fake.
Well, yeah. Well, I actually have an idea for the finish of the match, and it involves interference from a federal judge, which I think is apropos.
Have a judge run out in a robe with a gavel.
Right, yeah. He overturns the decision of the referee.
He puts a restraining order on you. He puts a stay on the judgment or something. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I thought that fit with our current environment.
Well, listen, it's great to catch up. Anything else going on in your world, Glenn, we need to know about? What a great day it's been.
Yeah, it has been a great day. No, man, everything is wonderful, and I'm just really happy and proud today, and look forward to the future, man. And I think with Donald Trump, once again showing his leadership and his negotiation skills, I think we are going to enter a golden age for America and the world, actually. It's going to be great. Mayor Glenn Jacobs, so good of you to catch up with us. Thank you so much. We'll talk again soon, friend. Thanks, Matt. Bye. All right, take care. There's Glenn Jacobs joining us for a few good minutes. We really just wanted an update. I knew that there was a little update. Wanted to remind everyone that Tim Walz is a pud, as they say.
A pud?
I mean, he is a pud. Come on. Talking tough. I whip all these Republicans. And Glenn's like, okay, let's go. Well, let's do some fake wrestling, buddy, and just silence. Nothing. Nothing. And if these people had any sense of humor or any sense about them, he would have agreed to this thing and work it out and make it good for everybody. But, of course, he has no sense of humor, and so he remains silent. But, of course, Donald Trump has taken over the afternoon. He continues to take questions. I mean, he is like the Energizer Bunny, man. He is just going and going and going. If he continues to go into the 4 o'clock hour, we will perhaps join some of that in progress and take your thoughts on all of this as Donald Trump pulls a master stroke, putting a 90-day moratoriums on any and all tariffs for all other countries except for China, who he drew out of the shadows, and they took the bait. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Listen up, folks. Matt Murphy here for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. I'm so excited that I am relatively pain-free when it comes to my chiropractic care, and I absolutely love what Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are doing at the Wellness Institute of Nashville to help all of you in your effort to become pain-free as well. I mean, look, folks, the bottom line is this. If you have pain, you can enjoy a life free of pain and enjoy the things that you used to do. And you don't have to take pills, and you don't have to worry about spinal creams. You don't have to do these types of things in order to achieve this pain-free life. You either have surgery or you have non-surgical procedures to open up the spinal disc when it comes to spinal disc pressure. And Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley understand this at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. I encourage you to make them a part of your life by making the call that so many others have made to the Wellness Institute. The number is 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009. Remember, ask them about the 47th President Special. That's right, in honor of DJT, they're offering you 47% off their non-surgical spinal decompression. 47% off. Go online to painisbad.com. That's painisbad.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the Wellness Institute of Nashville.
President Trump hits China even harder, pauses tariffs on everyone else, and you got to hear what happened when a platform collapsed under some pallbearers. These stories and more coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
My goodness gracious. That's a story that we all want to hear together, and we will in mere moments on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Show. What an afternoon. My goodness. Like I say, we've got this podcast going on, All the Best Words. You're invited to like and subscribe that. We were out for about an hour and a half taking care of some of that, and you come back, and this news has dropped in our laps. Donald Trump